Greetings, my name is Jordan Turner. I come to you with a review of the new movie, Dunkirk. I was beyond excited to view Dunkirk for the first time. Numerous positive comments had reached my ears, so I figured I should check it out. Director Christopher Nolan created another fantastic film with a soundtrack composed by Hans Zimmer, both of whom shaped the Dark Knight trilogy and Interstellar. Dunkirk is based on Operation Dynamo, which took place in Dunkirk, France, from the 26th of May to the 4th of June 1940, during the Second World War. The film follows three separate plot lines. A week-long journey called The Mole follows Tommy, played by Fionn Whitehead, and Gibson, played by Aneurin Barnard, as they attempt to leave Dunkirk. A day-long journey, titled The Sea, as Mr. Dawson, played by Mark Rylance, his son Peter, played by Tom Glenn Carney, and George, played by Barry Keoghan, sail to assist evacuees. And 1 hour, called The Air, for the pilots Collins, played by Jack Lowden, and Ferrier, played by Tom Hardy, as they defend the Allied seacraft from aerial attacks. Dunkirk is a non-linear narrative like Pulp Fiction and Memento, jumps around as the story shifts to a new set of characters. The audience sees many of the same events through different perspectives because of this. In one scene, Ferrier is flying over a sinking barge while a group of soldiers jump out of it. Later in the movie, Tommy and the crew from The Mole are seen finding the barge, waiting for the tide to take it out to sea. The first plotline, The Mole, is about Tommy and Gibson as they struggle through a week of hope and despair, waiting for salvation from the imminent German attack. This arc gives a fantastic look at what the soldiers would have had to deal with while waiting to escape, and the absolute terror they faced with the bombs and torpedoes. The Sea takes place over the final day in the film, and follows Mr. Dawson, Peter, and George as they sail towards Dunkirk in answer to the call for help, what would later be known as the Little Ships of Dunkirk, a fleet of sorts consisting of yachts, merchant vessels, fishing boats, and other such crafts. The group rescues a soldier stranded on a mostly sunken vessel and continued towards Dunkirk. One major point in the Sea story arc was the soldier and how he had become shell-shocked by his experiences. While this portion of the story followed Mr. Dawson and the others, I believe it was mainly about the soldier coping with his situation, which came across rather well. The third arc is the shortest time-wise, as it follows Collins and Ferrier in the air during just 1 hour. This was my favorite plotline in the film, and was a perfect way to connect everything. The tension is wonderful, as the audience is not sure if the planes will be shot down, or if the pilots will be able to protect the British destroyers. The end of this arc, without going into spoiler territory, has to be one of my favorite moments in cinema. It was beautifully shot, with the plane lit up in the form of Ferrier and silhouette. It was well executed and provides closure to the events in the movie. Compared to most movies, Dunkirk has little dialogue, and as such there is a heavy emphasis on audio and visual effect. To start off, the dogfights were fantastic. Incredibly placed on the nose of the war-proven Spitfires, the camera inserts a viewer directly into the aerial battles. The ships were equally amazing, especially the fact that 12 of the little ships were from the real evacuation of Dunkirk. In total, some 60 ships were used during filming. There is little CGI or visual effect usage in the film, as most shots relied on the real planes and ships, models, or cardboard cutouts. The lack of CGI adds to the realistic nature of the story, creating a more immersive world than, say, Star Wars could. Due to the reduced nature of dialogue, the actors effectively showed their characters' souls through facial expressions and body language. There was a scene with Commander Bolton, played by Kenneth Branagh, early on in the film, in which he looks out at the water in the most intense state of anguish. The frustration, hope, or lack thereof, and despair all come across through the expression he wears. The depth of the emotions can be felt through everything on screen. Similar to the cinematography, the sound plays a major role in the film. Much how John Williams' score for Star Wars could be considered a character, so too can the sound editing in Dunkirk. Hans Zimmer crafted a brilliant score, similar to his scores for other Nolan works, with the ostinato themes. In this case, representing a ticking watch. The watch effect felt, to me, as a representation of the struggle to escape before the German forces arrived. The incorporation of Edward Elgar's Nimrod from his Enigma variations was fantastic, in the track titled Home. That, mixed with the powerful visual effect at the time it played, when the little ships arrived to pick up the soldiers, was enough to draw tears to my eyes. There was finally a chance for the audience to hope in survival, and the triumphant sounds of Nimrod conveyed it perfectly. With such a marvelous soundtrack, there was still something that outclassed it, in my opinion at least. The sound effects themselves. Anyone who saw the original trailers for the film knew going in that the movie would be all about sound, and wow, it totally was. While the sound effects for the rushing water and sinking ships were incredible, and the exaggerated plane sounds made the audience feel as if they were in the cockpit, the Stuka dive bombers were the absolute greatest. The sirens were so loud that it felt as if they were actually attacking the viewer, and the effect was not lost. One moment, everything was fine, relatively, of course, in a situation like Dunkirk's evacuation. The next, there was a demon descending upon both the characters and the audience. Dunkirk was an amazing experience, especially in the theater. While I shall certainly be watching it again when it is released on DVD, and the impact will still remain, the true immersion felt while sitting in the dark room with so many others escaping Dunkirk like the cast was incredible. I would highly recommend this movie to anyone who enjoys war movies, psychological thrillers, or just great movies in general. Jordan Turner gives this, in total, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you very much for watching.